Hi, everyone. I am Gwen Callahan, one of the co-directors of Portland Horror Film Festival. And I am so pleased to be joined today by the director and writer of It Hatched, Elvar Gunnarsson. Welcome, Elvar. How are you?
I'm fine, Gwen. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So your film is one of a type of genre that we really love, and it goes into very weird and strange territory kind of very quickly. Can you tell us about where you came up with the idea to make a film like this? And then also tell me, is this the kind of film you usually make, or is it off-brand for you?
I think I would probably have a difficult time making something that would be considered perfectly normal. And I'm a fan of all sorts of films. I'm a big Buñuel buff and Fellini buff, and also like horror films and what people consider B movies, exploitation films from all over the world, and so on. So I am raised on a mix of all sorts of genres, films, and styles, and so on. I would think that this film is not that much different from something else that I would make. I write films in all sort of genres. I'm not solely working within the boundaries of the horror genre, even though I'm a horror buff nonetheless. Yeah, I think it's not that far away from something that I would normally do. As far as where the idea came from to make a film of this kind, I want to make a horror film, but still want to make a film about a relationship, and basically a film about gaslighting in a way, and try to interweave that into a what you could call a typical horror film. It's typical in that sense that it's a couple moving away to a remote place, and all sorts of weirdness takes place within that remote place. And it's also, I mean, it is Icelandic. It's based on an Icelandic folktale or Scandinavian folktale. And it's also something that everybody can relate to, I think, because it's a human thing. Sleep paralysis is basically a human, affects every human anywhere. It doesn't matter where they live. So yeah, I think a lot of ideas came up, and this is sort of where I ended. I end with a old naked man in a cave, and so on. So.
I feel like that's where we're all going to somehow end up.
Yeah.
Modern time. Naked old man in a cave.
But the idea came to me when a friend of mine was I used to do a lot of music videos, and we had a company here in Iceland, a production company, and we had nothing to do. We were basically out of business, and as a desperation move, we thought maybe we could do a crowdfunding trailer or something. And a friend of mine said that he had this idea of this couple moving away, about a film about a couple moving away to a remote place, and the woman all of a sudden lays an egg, and the egg cracks open and a giant spider comes out of the egg. And I said, okay, pause there for a minute. Maybe we can work around that and see if we can do something with it. And 2 months later, we were shooting the film.
Oh, wow. That's really fast.
Really fast then.
How did you find all the sets and actors and crew and everything that quickly?
Well, the crew mainly consisted of people I knew, and people that, well, the people around me knew. And I used to teach in the Icelandic Film School. So I twisted a few arms and made people come on set. That worked out. As far as actors goes, they're from the Icelandic Film School as well. And my ex-wife plays the main female character in the film. So I mean, most of the people who were around me. The guy who had the idea of the spider in the egg, he's the naked guy in the cave.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of things just came together, and that was the most difficult part. I mean, financing was, of course, the most difficult part. And so the film took a long time in the making, therefore.
My goodness. What was your decision-making process in filming most of the film in English rather than in Icelandic?
Well, I just thought that if it wouldn't be a huge success, like a big success here in Iceland and in the European market, then at least we had a horror film in English, which is, if you have like an okay horror film in English, that's way better than having an okay horror film in Icelandic, financially. So I mean, honestly, that was a big part of the decision, you know, and we are, Iceland is an island that's very influenced by the US. I mean, we were, you could say, partly raised by the US Army, because we had a US Army station here. The first Icelandic TV station, well, the first TV station in Iceland was the Army station. And as far as entertainment goes, then we are pretty Americanized. We are under American influence, and it's really not that long ago that we sort of start to break away from that mold. So I was, in a way, just paying homage to that as well, not shying away from the fact that we are the small America of the North, in a way.
Okay. Something that I really loved about the film is the colors, like the lush color grading. And is that what Iceland, I've never been there, I've seen pictures, but is that something that you laid over top, or is that something that exists already and you wanted to show everyone the beauty of the land?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really exist here. No, it's. But what we have in Iceland during the summer is we have sunlight. We have. You can't shy away from the sunlight. The sunlight is everywhere. You can't hide in the darkness, and it's hard to make an Icelandic horror film that takes place in the summer that has darkness and people like running about in the dark. So the film mainly takes place during high summer. It ends during the late summer when we have darkness again, and during the summertime we have all sorts of sky colors. The colors of the sky are vibrant. The sky becomes red, becomes pink, so on. So, and I wanted to make that a big part of the film. Like that was a theme in itself. The colors of the Icelandic summer sky, and sort of find a way to make that coexist with the horror element of the film, instead of making, well, a film that couldn't take place during the Icelandic summer because it lacks darkness.
Well, there's a stark contrast between when the film starts out and it's sort of a little bit more naturally color graded to where he starts having this sleep paralysis where there's these deep reds, and then to where he's dreaming about his wife with the blue lighting. And is there a color scheme tied to each character, or is it more of a mood for the scene?
Well, we thought about the colors sort of evolving gradually throughout the film. It starts off in Nashville, Tennessee, USA, and I would think that something that I enjoy about modern cinema is the day for night, modern day for night, which is basically sometimes see shadows, the shadows from made by the sun, and just the poor blue color all over it, which is nonsense, of course, but it's so cinematic and beautiful in its fakeness, sort of. And I wanted to pay homage to that as well, and not shy away from the film element of the film. It's total nonsense, and the film takes place within like a film, like a cinematic world, a cinematic universe, not reality, and therefore there came, well, that's when we started to sort of map out the film in that way. When it's in the US, it's blue, and it ends blue as well, because of, well, it's really nice when a film works in a circle, honestly. And the dark, and of course it ends in darkness as well. So the blue became the color of darkness in the film instead of having it black.
Okay.
And as far as the red tone, like the blood red tone, that is something that we do experience in Iceland. I mean, at a certain point during the summer night, the sky is blood red, and we want to save that color for the the first nightmare that takes place in Iceland, and then it gradually goes to orange on both sides, like from the beginning and then on to the end. So yeah.
Beautiful. Nice. I like the coming around, and then the expansive and the space that the color occupies, not just the visual color of it. That's a nice addition to it. We keep talking about the naked man in the cave, and I was curious if that is the design of that creature was also based in Icelandic folklore, or if that's something you just created.
Well, we have this creature within Scandinavian folklore. It's a part of Yngling saga, which is an old Icelandic or old Scandinavian saga. It was most likely written by an Icelander called Snorri Sturluson, but who really knows? Nobody knows. It's all a big guessing game. But the creature is called Mara, and the Icelandic word for nightmare is martröð. Basically means that a Mara is stomping on you while you're asleep, and even the English word nightmare is related to that creature, mare, which is the English version of Mara. We have no reference of what the creature looks like except in paintings. We have the famous painting, The Nightmare, with the demon sitting on top of the woman, which we blatantly reference in the film. But the idea of the naked man came to me when we go swimming a lot in Iceland. There's a big like pool community. You go to the hot tub and relax, go to the sauna and so on. And a big part of going to the pool is going to the showers. And here in Iceland, we shower completely naked, which we don't consider odd. But I had this weird experience once in the shower. I was in my local pool, and I was alone in the shower, except there was an old man there as well. And he was staring at me, smiling, like had this big grin on his face. And I sort of just smiled back. And then I realized that he had no penis. Oh. There was nothing down there, just skin. And he was extremely happy. And it made me real puzzled, because he was like around 8 years old and never seen anyone that happy. And I had never seen a man with no penis or no genitalia at all, and it made me a bit, just, I wouldn't say unsafe, but it messed with my system in a way, because I felt like he knew something that I did not know. And he was really happy about something, but I couldn't understand what he was so happy about because of his lack of genitalia. And I just based the feel of horror on that feeling that I felt in that shower. And that's where the initial idea of the character came to me. And then the mask itself was constructed by an Icelandic makeup artist called Stefán Jörgen, who sadly is no longer with us. And he's sort of a legend in Iceland when it comes to special effects makeup.
Nice. Wow. I think I haven't experienced quite that thing, but similar from being in the gym locker rooms and showering with the women's locker room. It seems like there's always one like ancient person that just is like, they don't care, whatever, look at me, look at you, and they're just, I don't know, chuckling to themselves or commenting to seemingly having a conversation in their own head and kind of like knowingly looking around the room, and it's unsettling.
It is, and even though it's the most normal thing in the world to be naked, it's still where we can experience insecurity, of course.
Yeah.
Because we have no shields, we have nothing to hide behind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So for the characters of Myra and Peter, talk a little bit about your idea for their characters, and who they are kind of as people, because Myra seems to be kind of professional woman, and Peter seems to be kind of a little bit bewildered all the time and clearly loves his wife very much, but is a little not quite as grounded in his knowing where his place in the world is. And I'm interested in the interplay between those two characters.
I mean, they are two extremes, of course. They are on totally different sides of the pole. And you are quite right with Myra. She is she is professional. She has German roots, and honestly, I mean, she is German. I mean, that's the point, and she has sort of the German stability. While Peter is, in a way, I wouldn't say he's in a way archetype of a type of modern Icelandic man, honestly. An extreme version of it, certainly an extreme version of it, but just a person that I know, and somebody that is rather close to me, and is in a way based on that character, and so on. Yeah, yeah. That's as far as I can take that answer, I guess.
Okay. With your direction of the actor, did the actor did he find that voice for Peter, or did you have to kind of, like, how much was he bringing to it and how much did you have to direct him in that?
I would say that it's 50-50. 50% I had to beat it into him, and 50% it's totally him. Okay. The last segment of the film where he goes off the rail, that is Gunnar Kristinsson, the actor that plays Peter. That's totally how he is on day-to-day basis. And of course, when he is the other version of Peter, it's far away from him. So it took a lot of time to get into that character. But when we had crafted the character, it was pretty easy for him to just pop into the character. But initially, it was difficult because I mean it's just so vastly different from the person that he is. So of course we did a lot of exercising and a lot of just experimenting to see how far we could take this. And in the end, we just thought that fuck it, we're just gonna go as far as we can and just go further than people usually dare to go, because and also because the film takes place within a cinematic universe and cinematic world. We thought that it would just be so boring to see somebody closer to reality, honestly, and within that color scheme, within that framing, within the story of a woman laying an egg and all of that stuff. We just thought that just didn't work, and we actually reshot like 8 scenes that we started off making, just because we thought that they just didn't gel, and it was way too close to normality. So yeah,
that makes sense. I think it might feel over the top, but I think it's appropriate for the moment where it feels right. Like it feels like that's how a person would react.
I think that it's so far over the top that you just think that, I mean, it doesn't really touch your head, doesn't graze you. It's just so far up in the air that yeah, it works in that sense. I think at least.
Nice. And I love the townsfolk who are kind of know something. No, they all know something about this house, but none of them are saying anything. And is that a cultural norm where?
Absolutely. That's certainly is an Icelandic thing. Certainly is. I mean, and I actually live in an area that's not as remote as the place that where the film takes place, but I live outside of Reykjavik. I'll actually show you. This is my backyard.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's really nice, but it is remote, and the further you get away from Reykjavik and the further you get into like these fjords and valleys and so on, people become stranger, and communication becomes like this big chess game. Nobody reveals the whole story yet, but still, it's a strange game because everybody's like almost super polite and very talkative, but they talk about everything except what we should be talking about, and it's obviously right under our noses. So yeah, and it is based on, and it's also just the feel, actually the mood of the film is based on an Icelandic documentary. There was this documentary made in the mid 80s here in Iceland called Stiklur, where they went to the Westfjords where the film takes place. The Westfjords were very remote back then. They had no electricity, and a lot of like sorcery used to take place there. Witchcraft, wizards were a big thing out there, and battle between like the old Norse religion and then, well, Catholics and eventually Lutheranism took place back then out there. And an Icelandic TV personality went out there during the 80s, interviewed the locals out there, and they were still as weird as they were probably back in like the 1800s, 1900s, 1700s even. So it's not that long ago that things were this strange out here in Iceland, like extremely strange, like the hills of ice, weird. So it's sort of based on that thing.
Okay. Yeah, we have similar areas of our country that are the same here. Can you still hear me? You appear to be frozen a little bit. Oh, we might have a connectivity issue. Let's see if it comes back in. Oh, okay. We'll see if he pops back in.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. Now I see and hear you again. Perfect.
I'm gonna try to change my internet connection.
Okay. And I don't have too much more for you, so try to keep it tidy.
Okay.
Oh. He is having a little bit of internet connection difficulty. I think it's back.
What about now? Should be working right now.
I can hear you fine. And
okay.
The picture's okay, but I can hear you fine. Let's see, what was I talking? Oh, we were talking about like outlying communities and how strange they can get because they're only exposed to each other, and that if there's no outside modern influence, it's very easy for that to just kind of for time and progress to bypass.
Yes.
And we have the author Stephen King here is fond of kind of shining a spotlight on these types of communities in New England, and it kind of felt that way. With the general store and the guy getting everything like one at a time, and just kind of not being very chatty or just kind of being standoffish, like this is how I do things and just deal with it. So that was a nice look. And then I wanted to ask you about the location of the house, and
Yes.
we see the wide shot of it with this house on this long, beautiful bank, and it's just this vast open space with nothing around it, and it feels very isolated. Is the house that you shot in that same house, or was that a different location that you?
Well, the basement is shot in Reykjavik, but the house itself, every other room in the house is shot in that house. And we actually, when we went location scouting, we found a nursery that hadn't been touched for 35 years. Still had the crib there. So we basically went through the script when we first went there and went in each room. It was basically just like I had written. So we settled on that house. That house is actually built on a burial ground, like an old burial ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a proper, like you said, Stephen King. It's like straight out of a Stephen King novel, really. And it's that remote. Yeah, it is. It's a tad closer to Reykjavik than it is supposed to be located in the film, but nonetheless, extremely isolated.
Remote. Oh my goodness. Well, that location as kind of almost a third character in the film alongside the two main characters is just really sets a feeling of kind of danger, because if something happens, like there's nowhere to go, like everything's a half hour away or 45 minutes away, which
Yeah.
is really nice, and it kind of keeps the two characters, it creates a tension there because there's nowhere for them to go. um,
Uh,
and with their relationship, um, can you speak to the dynamics of an evolving relationship where it's one thing in one location and becomes something else in another location?
yeah, yeah. I think that well, the backstory. I feel that their backstory is that they're going through the 7-year itch, and it's they are being reborn as new individuals. And that's something that takes place when people have kids. They have a kid, and one of them something else, and that else. So it's a human condition. Everybody can experience. Um, as far as I mean, I actually was in a relationship where there was gaslighting. And, it's a weird thing. And, and even though you know that what the person said happened didn't really happen, you still sort of doubt yourself and sort of start to doubt reality. And I mean, I think the way that their relationship evolves is just an extreme version of a cartoonish version of just that. Uh, so I think it's not as far away from reality as it seems to be.
Mhm.
But I think it's yeah, not that far away from where a lot of relationships go in that direction. Even though it's not as ghoulish, it's still pretty close to what they go through. In a way.
It does seem like the events that happen are an offshoot of what happens like in yourself when you're, there's this literal like hole that he goes down, and
Yeah,
like this other space where he exists and that's apart from the real world. So it's an interesting, the house kind of becomes a metaphor for what's happening with the two of them.
yes, and his mind state, of course,
Mhm.
Peter's, of course. Yeah, I think you are right about that.
um
That's the theme, of
it's,
course, going down
yeah,
the rabbit hole.
exactly. And the actors are so great. The Have you worked with them before? I mean, your ex-wife, but have you worked with Gunnar before as well?
No, it was my first experience working with Gunnar. I really enjoyed working with Gunnar. I mean, all of the actors in the film are actors in Iceland, right? Their main job is being an actor,
Mhm.
except Gunnar. Gunnar is just somebody that's not a part of the Icelandic art community at the moment. But I think I love Gunnar. I think his, I mean, it's my film, and I probably shouldn't be saying stuff like this, but I think he has the potential of, well, I think his performance has the potential of being like an iconic cult
Mhm.
filmish performance. I mean, there's nothing like it,
I
and
agree.
I think it's really, really nice. I really like it, and and, and it's probably I feel probably work with Gunnar again because also, I mean, he has energy that most people don't have.
Mhm.
It's just a face that most people aren't born with. So,
He seems familiar to me, but I think he looks like somebody that I'm familiar with. But he has this sort of vibe of like the everyman. Just he's like a normal guy, but he has
yeah,
a very expressive face and like great comedic timing.
yeah,
So I hope to see him. I hope he pops up in some more things because he was really
I
fun to watch.
hope so as well.
Was there is there anything before we wrap up? Is there anything you wanted to share that you didn't get to talk about the film? Any behind the scenes fun things or?
No, maybe not. I mean, maybe there's maybe one thing that stand this on a positive note and all that. I mean, we made this film with nothing in our hands, and I ended up shooting the film myself, making music myself, which was not the plan in the beginning. But it's I think the film itself is a good lesson to anybody who wants to make a film. Just don't give up. Really want to. If you see your goal, it's a possibility to get there. A lot of hurdles in the way and a lot of mountains to cross and so on, but you can always get there. I think this film is just an excellent example of just that.
Oh, there's a very loud buzzing noise. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Do you hear the buzzing? No? Okay. Just us. It must be the connection. That's okay. I want to thank you for taking the time to chat with us about It Hatched. It's a really wonderful film. I can't wait to hear all the feedback from our audience and see what's next on the film festival circuit or for distribution for you. Is there a place where people can find out more about It Hatched and to look for news about it?
We get our US release in September.
Okay.
US September. I'm extremely glad to say that it's not in my hands.
Okay.
But it's being distributed in the US and Europe and so on. I don't have the official date for the European release. But yeah, people will actually be able to see the film.
Yay! And if people want to know more about your film projects, do you have a Instagram or an account or a website where people can find out about your film projects?
Yeah, I mean, I have an Instagram, but I'm just a guy who lives out in the countryside in Iceland. So it's, and yes, I have plans and projects and so on. But I have, honestly, I have no online personality. So.
It's okay. We'll keep an eye out and we'll try to share news if we see something. And you can let us know directly too. Yeah, well, Brian.
And thank you for showing the film. It's a really nice feeling to experience this gratitude.
It's going to close the festival, so I think it'll be a high point, and it's a really, it's a moving story with a lot to say, but it's also really fun and kind of goes off the rails at the end. And that's I think our audience enjoys that, so it'll be a great conclusion to our festival. And thank you again for taking time out to chat with us today, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Good luck.
Okay. And for those of you watching, if you haven't seen all of the festival yet, it is still streaming through Wednesday, July 6th. So there's still a little bit of time for you to catch up on all that stuff. And we'll see you again soon.